On Sunday, the president threatened to shut down the federal government if Democrats don't fund his border wall and make changes to federal immigration policy. Republicans are already throwing cold water on the idea, which would shut down the government just weeks before the midterm elections in October. A number of Republicans aren't too happy about this. Oklahoma's Tom Cole told the New York Times, quote, "I don't see how putting the attention on shutting down the government when you control the government is going to help you." That seems reasonable from Tom Cole, no?
Hey, Tom, what are you doing? All right, we got a plan here. It's to shut down the government and blame 3 Democrats in Ohio.
I mean, Republicans in Congress are saying to reporters, don't listen to this. This is an empty threat. Trump's really not going to do it. We've got McConnell's and Ryan are both we've got it under control.
Yeah.
We got our spending bills. Do we think they'll be able to talk him out of this if he wants to do it?
I talk Trump out of things. I don't know if anyone's ever successfully talked Trump out of things. You can distract him with a piece of chicken. Yeah, I don't know. The thing to remember, too, is, as always, Trump shoots the hostage, right? So when he says, give me my border funding or I'll shut down the government, let's also remember, we've agreed to this before. We agreed to pay for the wall if Donald Trump would agree to protect Dreamers. He even said that was the deal he wanted. We came to him. We said, "Here we go. We're ready to do the deal." And of course, he walked away because the hardliners in his administration and Congress chased him off of it. The thing is, this isn't just about the border wall. This is about restrictions on legal immigration, which is always the piece of this that doesn't get enough coverage because he's made the wall the centerpiece. But what Donald Trump really wants is he wants billions for the border wall, he wants restrictions on legal immigration, and he wants no compromise on behalf of Dreamers, separated families, or any of it. And Democrats can't go along with that. And we're not in charge of the government, but we have a set of priorities. We've already said, Schumer's gone back and forth, but we've already said, really, we can pretend we're negotiating, but we've already said you can have your wall if you protect the Dreamers, and, he won't take a good deal when it's handed to him. So, yeah, maybe he will, maybe he won't. I don't know.
I mean, one thing I was wondering is, today everyone was greeting this news by saying, well, look, Republicans control the White House, they control Congress. Obviously, if he goes through with this, it's the Republicans' fault, and everyone knows this. But what happens when a bunch of Republicans in Congress say, oh shit, he's actually going to go through with shutting down the government over the wall? We're obviously not going to give him his cuts to legal immigration, but let's just give him his $25 billion for the wall, because otherwise we're going to have a government shutdown right before the midterms. That could hurt us. So let's just give him as much money as he wants. And then when Democrats in the Senate say, abso-fucking-lutely not, we were going to do this when maybe you would protect the Dreamers, and now you just want the funding? No, we're going to stand against this. And now all the Republicans are saying, Democrats in the Senate are standing, they're blocking this funding bill that would keep the government open.
Open borders. I would say no one will be able to play out the consequences. They will be messy and hard to understand. The fact that Republicans control the White House and both branches of Congress is enough to make the fight worth having, because we know what the right thing to do is. The right thing to do is do not give in on border funding unless you protect the Dreamers. And I think we should hold the line on that again. Look, this is something we have taken as our position at Crooked, right? We made that that you cannot give him concessions without getting anything. The concession can't be keeping the government open. Everybody wants the government open. That's a lesson from the debt ceiling during the Obama years. That's a lesson from every shutdown we've had. If they want Democratic votes, Democrats need to get something. And if they don't, that will not help them with the people they need to come out and vote for them. We will give you your border funding, but you have to give us the big thing we've been asking for that you said you were okay with, that you yourself said you were behind for 2 years now.
Yeah. Well,
and
it's clear the reason why, or one big reason why they don't want to give us that, and why he wants the shutdown over the wall. And that reason is the map in 2018. So there was a great New York Times piece by data guru Nate Cohn on Monday about how the fight for the House is going to be fought on terrain that's a bit different from the conventional wisdom. So it's not just well-educated suburban districts that voted for Hillary in 2016, like the Crooked Eight that we have here in California. But there's a lot of working class and rural districts that went for Trump. In fact, apparently the 60 most competitive House seats are whiter and more pro-Trump than the country as a whole. 49% of the electorate in those seats voted for Trump in 2016, and only 46% voted for Clinton. What does this say about the Trump-Republican strategy this fall?
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it's clear that the reason because we could laugh at them by saying, oh, their base is too small to win this election. So how can they do that? But no, we know that they have this sort of institutional structural advantage because of gerrymandering and the way the map is. But it's also now the seats that are up happen to be a little wider and more pro-Trump. So they're thinking, as long as we rev up the base, we can do this. The good news for us is that in special elections, in some of these districts that are more Trump than they are, districts where Clinton won.
Not special elections, elections without an incumbent.
No, I'm sorry. In the special elections we've had so far.
Sorry.
So the good news is the special elections we've had so far in 2018, in 2017, Democratic candidates have been running further ahead of Clinton in the Trump districts than in the Clinton-friendlier districts. So, for example, like in the Ossoff race, that was a seat that Clinton won that district, even though it was a Republican district for years and years and years.
So let's just make sure it's clear what that means. What that means is, so across the map, we see this Democratic advantage. The Democratic advantage is oddly more concentrated in Trump districts than Clinton districts, which makes sense when you think about the fact that in a lot of ways, this election is like arbitrage between people's revulsion to Trump and their natural partisan inclinations, right?
Well,
that there are lots of soft Trump voters in these places that are clearly gettable, which to your point makes sense, which is why we would end up talking about immigration.
Well, and we saw this at the end of the 2016 race, right? Which is the Clinton campaign, they were really counting on the Romney-Clinton voter, or that was a big constituency. And they thought that a lot of these people who voted for Mitt Romney, who were Republicans, would say, we are so repulsed by Donald Trump that we will vote for Hillary Clinton. And it turns out that their partisan leanings, the fact that they were Republicans who get all their information from Fox News and the conservative atmosphere, in the entire conservative media propaganda atmosphere, meant that at the very end, they decided that their hatred for Hillary Clinton was greater than their repulsion of Donald, than how much they were repulsed by Donald Trump. So, and they turned out to end up, it was the Clinton-Romney voters were a very small portion of these swing voters. The larger group were these Obama-Trump voters who voted for Obama in 08 and 12 and then ended up voting for Trump. And in those districts, in these districts that are heavier with Obama-Trump voters, that's when we're seeing these huge swings back towards the Democrats. The Conor Lamb race is a big one. There were a lot of Democrats in that race who had voted for Donald Trump, but then just came home and came back to the Democratic Party and voted for Conor Lamb.
Right.
And I do think that has implications. So on the Republican side, they're thinking to themselves, well, we will get them back by making this all about immigration and making this and sort of just fighting these culture wars, whether it's about the national anthem or whatever else. And I think the Democrats and Democrats like Conor Lamb, Democrats in a lot of these districts who we've seen be successful, they're thinking to themselves, we will make it about the economy. We will make it about populism, real populism.
Right.
We will say that this is an administration that has only cared for the rich and is trying to take away your health care to give tax breaks for billionaires, and we're going to be different than that.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then now, the key thing is, okay, so we know that Donald Trump is going to want to make this election about immigration, and he may shut down the government to do it. Now, you can do one of two things to that. In response to that, you can say, well, then we better capitulate so that we can get back to the topic at hand. Or we can do the harder thing, which is actually the right thing, which is fight him on immigration and fight for what we believe in while being disciplined enough and thoughtful enough to make sure that we're not allowing MS-13 and the nonsense Trump will be spewing for the next 3 months to drown out the larger message around jobs, healthcare, education, the economy, the corporate tax cut being for the rich and not for you, efforts to undermine Roe and pre-existing conditions and all the rest. And I think
and to call out the game.
And to call out the game.
This is what he's doing this.
So I think it's really important to call out the game. And I think the good news is if you look at Virginia, you can look at Virginia as a place where this theory was tested to the max. Northam and everybody on that ballot ran in a situation where Republicans quickly realized that they had no choice but to run on MS-13. They called out the game. They fought on the issues they wanted to fight on, and voters came along.
Yeah, and the only trickier thing in 2018 is Virginia is a place that Hillary Clinton won by 5 points. These districts that we just mentioned, Trump won by 3 points in 2016. Right. So,
but Northam won by
Northam won by even
9
more than
points.
Clinton, right? So, but that's why we have why this is a competitive election. But I do think for Democrats, right before we started recording today, we saw this New York Times headline that Trump The Trump administration is now considering bypassing Congress to cut capital gains taxes for the rich by another $100 billion. $100 billion tax cut for the super rich by executive order. This is what they're doing now.
They're getting so close to just basically inviting people in a certain tax bracket to the Treasury with bags. Just bring any bag. Everybody can bring one tote and just fill it with fucking money and go home.
And here's the answer for Democrats to almost every question you're asked between now and Election Day. Oh, the Trump administration wants a unilateral tax cut for billionaires. just they want to just raid the Treasury. That's what they want to do.
We got teachers with their hats out on planes to get money for school supplies, and Trump is sending Mnuchin out to hand out doubloons to everybody in Wall Street.
Oh, but what do you think about this national anthem controversy? I think that the Trump administration is mulling a $100 billion tax cut for the ultra rich on their own.
What do you think about MS-13 taking over our towns?
Yeah, I think $100 billion is going to fucking rich people.
Hey,
They're just stealing it from the Treasury.
Hey, Rudy said that Robert Mueller is a terrorist. What do you think of that?
Unfucking believable. Put it on a bumper sticker. It's ridiculous.
We got to tighten it for the bumper sticker.
Yeah, we do have to come. Yeah. Everyone, tweet suggestions for the bumper sticker about the $100 billion tax cut. That they're just the lawless tax cut.
The lawless tax cut.
Think about all the shit that Barack Obama got for executive orders.
Yeah, Barack Obama.
Maybe that wasn't on the level.
Yeah,
Maybe it wasn't on the level.
Barack Obama had the audacity to use his executive power to try to keep children who knew no other country but America here. And Donald Trump saw that power and he's like, I think I can write my friends I can get some cash out of this. Ivanka stopped her clothing line. We got to do something.
So Democrats are, the ones who have been successful in these special elections have been focusing on this economic message, an economically populist message. They've been focusing on the tax cuts. They've been focusing on healthcare. One place where this is going to be tested is the Ohio 12th. We talked to Danny O'Connor, who's the Democrat running an Ohio special election on August 7th on a pod last week. Trump won his district 53-42. It has a Cook Political Report score of R+7, but Dems have been overperforming swing districts like that one by an average of 8 points. So this is right on the edge.
Man.
They just moved this to a toss-up. It was lean Republican. People did not think Democrats had a chance in here, much like the Conor Lamb one. So this will be a very tight race. So that is Tuesday, August 7th, that race that we're watching. Another close race on August 7th is the gubernatorial primary in Michigan between Gretchen Whitmer and Abdul El-Sayed. We had Abdul on the pod when we went to Ann Arbor in Michigan, and we love him.
We love him.
I have to say, he's one of the more inspiring candidates that I've encountered over the last couple of years since Trump became president. He would be the first Muslim governor of Michigan. He's very progressive. He's for Medicare for all. His opponent wants to strengthen ACA and further expand Medicaid, but Abdul has come out with this big, huge proposal of Medicare for all in Michigan, $15 minimum wage, these very big progressive ideas. So, I'm pulling for him in that primary.
It's a long shot, but we've seen a lot of long shots win.
That's right. And speaking of that, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been there campaigning with him. So that's pretty exciting. And then, after that, after next week, after those primaries and elections, we don't have many more before the big ones.
No, just the one day on which America's future will be determined.